Perfect. I'll use that
Damn,
one.
that was a good
That
slap.
was crisp.
Well, welcome
Um,
everybody to the podcast. This is an untitled podcast as of now, but actually that might be a topic that we can
True. Yeah.
talk and discuss too. But this is just Timo and Karamoko just doing the
Chopping it
talk.
up and doing a talk.
Why don't you share something? Because perhaps like I may be overselling this podcast a bit.
Oh, not at all. This podcast is literally the best podcast there is. You can't. You just
I
can't.
like the
You
motivation
just can't
here.
oversell this podcast. I mean, it's in its infancy, yes, but man, you can feel the magic, And I really do want to stress the fact that if this gets seen at some point in time, man, it takes a long time to set these up. We thought we would just get in here, move some things around real quick, press the start button, and just be on it. But there's a lot that goes behind, recording anything, podcasts, you name it, music, YouTube videos, just the infrastructure you need in the back. I feel like people don't really appreciate it at times, and yeah, it takes a lot of work.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, much like life, assume it is easy
Hmm.
to put things together. And if you just decide to start a project and
Yeah.
then actually execute it, it's actually one of the main reasons why I think a lot of people quit. Because the
I agree.
preparations alone is not exciting, and
I
that's the
agree.
hard part. Doing it is fun, and then preparing for the next one, post production, is equally as challenging.
I
So
agree.
I think, if anything, this is just a small testament of no matter what we're doing, you have to enjoy the whole process. More or less. I mean, maybe being fair, like it doesn't have to be the entire process, but you have to understand why, at least. Understand its purpose and reasoning so you don't have to grunge your way through.
Hmm.
You could do it with at least some excitement, or at least some relative
Yeah,
enthusiasm, or at least purpose.
I agree with what you said. But I do want to shine a light on that statement you made. It kind of makes me feel like if you need to enjoy what you're doing as a whole, but there will always be aspects of it that are grindy or that you're not going to enjoy.
Hmm.
And I love making videos. I love talking about finance, but it's not all glamorous all the time. And I think that's those grindy parts and those parts that are really annoying to do just kind of shaves off the people who are not committed to accomplishing, whatever they're trying to accomplish. And that just separates the doers versus the sitters, I guess. I'll call them.
Yeah, and a better way
Yeah.
of explaining it. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a good
Hmm.
roll off to the things we want to do. So,
Yeah.
we decided to set up a few topics, and the first one was
Mhm.
to talk about from Sub Zero podcast. We had just a general discussion over
Sub-Zero,
things
I
we
like
were
that.
committed to sticking with.
Yes.
And you were committing to something specific, and I thought I'd
That's right.
ask like how that whole process went for you.
That's right. For those of you who probably didn't and most likely will never see
Yeah, we'll never hear or see
the
this.
Sub-Zero podcast. I love that, by the way, Sub-Zero. Um, I committed to discipline myself and stay consistent in terms of working out every day, taking care of myself and exercising on a daily basis.
How was that
Um,
process?
Man, it's like all things, when you start something, well, I don't want to say new because I've worked out before, but when you engage yourself in doing certain things, the first and second time might be fun. I'm doing this. It's just the start of something great.
Mm-hmm.
And then always, without fail, along the way, you will hit that that one day or this one obstacle that'll make you question, do I really want to do this? I've worked out a few days already. Should I keep going? That sounded smooth.
I was trying to be discreet, bro. Keep going.
But yeah, as far as my experience goes, I don't know if I've actually committed to doing this every day. I feel like I mentioned something along the lines of just going to the gym, at least have a schedule
Mm-hmm.
or certain days within the week. But I've taken this to the extreme and not allowed myself to take even a day break. I've been wanting to go every single day.
Good.
Um, Pros are, I think I'm doing a good job at keeping myself accountable, and I'm doing that by actually sharing every single day I go to the gym. And I do that for two reasons. Reason number one is to keep myself accountable, because if I don't post, say, day 6, then I would kind of, in a way, not only let myself down, but let myself down in front of everyone that saw me make that
Mm-hmm.
commitment, on my Instagram story. And the second thing is I also want to use that as a a way to show, just regular people like me, because I want to be transparent along my journey.
Mm-hmm.
Just show that I'm just like you, and I've just devoted myself to do this every single day. And
Mm-hmm.
if I'm out here doing this, knowing how lazy I am in terms of that, you can do it too. So, follow my lead and support me. I'll support you, and we can do this together. It's not impossible if you put your mind to it.
It's not impossible, you said.
Those are the two things, the two reasons why I've done it in that way. And to kind of shed light on how the actual experience has been, like I said, first day was amazing. It was really fun, doing something somewhat new, if you catch my drift. But man, I am extremely sore, dude. Like when you work out, after not having done so in a long time, the first and second day are rough, because anything you move, anything you worked out is just, it's like it burns.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know. I know some people work out daily, but not everyone goes and lifts weights every single day and like goes hard to the max every day. I feel like if you do that, you kind of have to give yourself maybe a day or two rest, like some in between days where you let your muscles relax. And that's the part I didn't think of when I set myself on this journey. Because when I go to the gym, I don't have this particular set of things that I'm looking to do that day. I just walk in and kind of do what I feel like I
Just
want to
felt
do.
like doing.
Exactly. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have, oh, today's leg day, today's arm day, today's cardio day. I just go in doing what I feel like I need to be doing that day, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. So, yeah,
I hear you.
yeah,
The way I see it is the way we discussed in the last
yeah,
podcast, or at least in the Sub-Zero one.
yeah,
We are talking about making the goals simple.
right.
And I think what you are describing is what every person struggles with.
Okay.
Is just simply doing it. It's simple
That's the
to
hard
just
part.
start that.
That's the hard part.
If you try to make it too detail oriented, too specific, as we were talking last time,
Yes.
you will discourage yourself because it required all these other things to make it happen.
Yes. Yes.
Versus, just go.
That's true.
Well, what's your plan? I just got to get in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think once you continue to do it, because I was immediately kind of like
Yeah.
interested, like, where are you trying to go? But I was like, I don't think that's the question people need to be asked in the beginning.
That's true.
It's just
I agree.
simply, just start. And I think at that point, while you're in there, you're going to start thinking, I do want to do something a little more. Or I want to
Yeah.
see this kind of result.
Yeah.
You start asking yourself
Comes a
specific
long way.
questions, you'll get to more specific goals. But the baseline has been made. You're already in there.
Right.
And I mean, that's like the start for any source for both discipline and habit building, as we were talking about. That kind of started this whole accountability thing, was merely just doing it.
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
Just doing it. Do you think starting is much more difficult than staying consistent? How would you
Ooh,
Put those on
it's
a
really good.
balance.
They're all equally tough.
You think so?
Yes. Remember, because at every point of the journey,
Mm-hmm.
it has to be a little challenging.
Right.
Because otherwise you will plateau. That's what it means to not have a challenge before you. So, but each one
True.
has its own subsets of challenges. No one should be in the progress state if you
Mhm.
haven't even started. People
Right.
like to talk
You can't
about
make
what
progress
happens when the
without
ball
starting.
rolls.
Yeah.
It's like you haven't even started.
Yeah. Right.
So the hard part is starting. But once you start and you're on that roll,
Mhm.
then you hit the plateau of like, oh, but like I'm doing this, but like nothing's happening.
Mhm.
So you can go one of two ways. You can just quit
Right.
because no results.
Right.
But again, keep it as simple. Or you start have to ask yourself, what am I doing to maintain and to get better? So in other words, the first one is
Mhm.
starting.
Okay.
And the starting part is like building, adding a habit or a routine.
Mhm.
The second part is refining it,
Mhm.
which means you now have to start putting a little more effort of thought to actually change the behavior or making it specific, a goal to properly strive for.
Yeah.
And that's why I say they're both equally challenging, but they challenge different parts of you.
That's true. I agree with what you said. In my head, I don't know why I feel like it's hard to start something because you always have these obstacles in front of you that you self-imposed obstacles. Oh, I don't have this. Oh, I need to do this before I can start that. Oh, I need to get to this point. It is hard to just muster the will to just go ahead and start something new.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know why. I just feel like it's much easier to just quit because it can be hard to start, but I think much harder to keep it going because you still have to shake that habit of, well, I don't want to say habit, that mindset of, oh man, now I gotta go tomorrow again, and then
Mm-hmm.
today I don't feel like it.
Yep.
And that's something you'll constantly face along the way because
Mm-hmm.
every single day, every time the sun rises, you still got to ask yourself the question, am I going to the gym today? But when you started, you started.
Yeah.
It's just, can I keep going?
Mm-hmm.
It's a ever every single day it's gonna be a new obstacle that you jump over. What do you think about that?
In terms of like, it's easier to quit, 1,000%. I mean, but
Well, harder to
that's
maintain.
in terms of maintaining. Eh,
Like the will to go, not
but
so much maintaining your physique,
yeah,
just
no,
maintaining that will to go.
but that's why I say you plateau. You weren't really challenging yourself then. You just wanted the award medal of participation.
Yeah, which you
So,
shouldn't
but
be what you
but
strive
again, that's
for.
what everyone can strive for.
True.
So once you get your everyone participation award,
Mhm.
it's like, did you really want to challenge yourself, or did you feel pressured that you know you were not doing good? So in order to make yourself feel better,
Ah,
you were like, oh yeah, I'm doing that.
yeah.
And then
I
let's
can see
use your
that.
financial examples
Yeah.
because it's finances in your
Mhm.
field and space.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I want to save. I want that car. I want that house.
Right.
So I'm going to save money. I'm going to make money, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
But then you see those $210 shoes because, all your friends or others are like, dude, that's the hype. This is cool. So see, then when you look at someone doing that savings
Yeah.
perspective,
Yeah.
because it's related to you, it's like, would you really count that person as someone that is good at saving, or because they quit easily? Or would you more say that it's like, no, I think you just wanted the participation of looking at someone saying, I was and am saving.
That's
Like the
an
title, the
interesting aspect.
entitlement
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
Because anyone can do it. And I'm going to share with people, like, I
Mhm.
know all the things to say and do.
Right.
That's
right.
what separates the two people.
That's true.
Because everyone wants to tell people advice and stuff, and perhaps maybe I feel a bit of that
Mhm.
self-impersonation of it. So I try to be mindful of what I share. I'm very intellectual and very I like to think about these stuff. So the biggest accountability thing recently has
Big brain Timo.
was just simply saying, like, I need to just fucking do it.
Yeah.
And that was hard
Yeah.
to realize that like I wasn't doing the thing that I wanted to do. So that's why I find myself piecing together the things where I'm like, okay, I just got to do this. And in that process of doing this, in kind of a new phase of that, it gets easier to just be like, gotta do it.
I agree.
Because for me, this is more than just wanting to look good. This is more than just this. I've been trying to pursue fitness in a particular manner where I just really want that. But the area I struggle in is probably more in the finances, because I'm thinking of things in the very like, what do I need now? So like, for instance, setups, equipment, stuff that I use a lot.
Yeah.
I think about those things when I'm playing like one of my like phone games, and
Okay.
I'm like, I didn't get the character that I was looking for,
Okay.
and all I need is like 50 gems more to
Oh,
to get
man.
it.
No.
Like you know, like immediate. Like I ain't gonna lie, like it's like like $7.99 don't sound so bad.
No. It's very bad.
You want to like hang
Very
out with
bad.
friends because you
Yeah.
know deep down like these connections feel worth it.
Right.
And you're like, I can make money later. So like, what's $40 for lunch?
Oh man,
Like,
look at that
I'm just-
self-persuasion.
But I'm sharing these honest things where
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
like I've got motivation, discipline in this one field,
Yeah.
but I desire to not just take the practice in other areas just because it's the better thing to do or look. But really, genuinely speaking, it's that I found my big why in my value, or correction, not value, the thing that makes me want to keep doing this. This is why I will keep exercising. But for financing, it feels a little more in a nuanced phase. So I know how to save relatively. Like I can go through all that with you.
Yeah.
But to have something practical that I'm like, I want to have that
Yeah.
focus more than anything, I don't have that. So I'm in the same space you probably are in fitness, to where it's like that mindset or that willingness is probably the question I'm still asking myself. Like, what exactly in that specific field makes it worth it? And I hate using a lot of general examples or even just kind of like thoughts behind it, but I challenge myself to find something worth saving for. But right now I haven't found that. So then I say, well, if it's not saving really, then my financial goals are more, what am I investing in? So maybe I have to realign the goals for my particular season. So if I'm actually making good money, then I will start saving then. So in other words, like same, like, I guess I'll just leave it there. Like, that's kind of how I've rewired my focus, is saying what's worth investing in. I've invested in very particular equipment, invested in a camera, invested in this stuff. It's like thousands of dollars. And so I'm like, well, okay. But in terms of like being with friends or other stuff, I don't mind splurging on those things. So I've saved or made the right decisions at the times when I could do it. And so maybe my savings goals are not as big as yours, and maybe I might not reach that goal as fast as you. And I think that's where if I desire that goal as much as I do with the other stuff, then I think I would pursue that better. But I need to find that specific reason.
To why
Exactly. So it's not just Karamoko.
Right.
It's like my goal.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
And I hope that answers the question
Yes.
that I so poorly stretched.
No, it totally does, Timo. And this is a great segue into saving. So I've been where you are in terms of, I'm putting all this money aside, and what am I going to do with it? What am I doing this for? Why don't I just go out and just buy? I mean, I would never do that, but like, why don't I just go buy these new Jordans that just came out? Why don't I just go and buy that new game that just came out? I'm just watching it there. I don't have any upcoming things I need to put this money on. So why am I saving? And in my finance journey and learning, everything about finance, I feel like saving should be, first of all, before I get into this, when you save money, or even invest money, because I see saving and investing almost as the same thing, just with some minor differences. So
Mm-hmm.
when you save slash invest, you're putting money aside that you're gonna spend later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that implies that you don't necessarily have the freedom and the capacity to get yourself whatever it is you're looking to get.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's financial picture, journey, or goals might not be the same, but ideally, to be in a financially sound um, place in your life, you shouldn't need to save to be able to afford something, ideally. Okay, so when you think of it that way, that when I did, it kind of made me realize that saving is just a way to give yourself more freedom, because when you save slash invest, you ideally want to earn enough passive income from those savings to allow you to take more risks, to
Mm.
allow you to splurge on those things that you would otherwise have to save for. Because the whole point of being financially independent is to not have to sacrifice any aspect of your living situation or your lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
or your budget, sacrifice a piece of your happiness to be able to afford something that might or might not give you more happiness down the line.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to kind of always be in a position to be able to afford things you need or bring happiness to your life.
Mm-hmm.
So to kind of
Interesting.
in,
Yeah.
kind of answer your question, I feel like you should be saving towards maybe investing that money later when you have enough of it, or buying a business or doing something with it that will give you that unlimited freedom where
Yeah.
you will never have to save again.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you accomplish that, you get into the space where whenever you want to buy something, you can, maybe you could do this, you could finance it by purchasing a rental property, for example. I love using this example. You just buy an asset that generates you income, but that income is what's going to pay for whatever you want,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're never in a situation where you have to sacrifice a piece of your happiness or lifestyle in order to
Mm.
afford something. So that's how I view saving.
Interesting.
What do you think about that?
I don't. I find it interesting. It's like that's the goal for saving and investing, from your definition and sharing.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's just a different perspective that I see or hear from it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I always see saving as a lifestyle intention
Yeah.
to generate, not necessarily. It's always going to, basically everything is going to require, in my mind, a sense of sacrifice.
Right.
Even if you have the ability to have everything at your disposal.
Why do you say that?
Because I think,
How is it a sacrifice?
so here's a good
then?
example.
Yeah.
You become a real estate agent
Sure.
and you're making, let's assume, you hit the peak of, you have your
Okay.
passive income with
Okay.
with apartments and rental spaces,
Sure.
and you got 10 clients in line.
Yeah.
So you're making good money.
Mm-hmm.
The sacrifice is the investing time to maintain and keep up with the clients, looking up other clients.
Okay.
You might have overhead
Sure.
and employees under your disposal, so you got to start watching, make sure that they're happy and taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the tenants that are in your apartment space,
Mm-hmm.
like, you don't want it to just be stuck and stay just as is. I mean, it's not impossible to, but I would almost think that, like, with the money that I've saved and stuff, like,
Yeah.
it's saving because I'm not going to be able to necessarily be able to splurge, but I'm thinking to myself, how can I make this person, my tenant over here, feel happy in the space, so that way what they're living in is worthwhile to invest a little more into that. What about the employees or people that are working for me, either just finding connections or of the sorts, like, I'd be happy to give a little bit more over here.
Mm-hmm.
And then even for, like, let's say the person that you're going to be living or spending life with,
Yeah.
or family,
Yeah.
there's things that need to maintain and that you're always going to be saving X amount in case surprises happen or accidents happen
They
or
do happen,
some
yeah.
um, negligence happens. So in my mind, I think of it as like I'm saving and continuing to save and making the right sacrifices so that way, like, I'll be able to give back, support, or build in these ways where I'm thinking it might take a little bit out of me, but I wouldn't trade in the world. And I used that example
Mm-hmm.
because that's like the first thing that came to mind. And I know that that's why I find it interesting
Okay.
with how you described
Yeah.
saving and investing. So I guess it doesn't really have a question. It's more
No
like I know
worries.
we were saying like
I
what's the topic that we're building around is like what's worth like
right.
what is worth saving for. So I'm curious to hear like
Sure.
I don't even have the question to articulate it, but I feel like I kind of
Yeah, yeah,
articulated
yeah.
by the way I asked
I
or
think I know
said it.
how I'll maybe shed some light on the dark spots in your example there. So I'm not a licensed financial advisor, so anyone watching this podcast, please do your own research and homework before making any major drastic life decisions with your money. This is just for entertainment purposes. But saving, I feel, is should be, as we talked about before, when you set goals, you want to make goals that you can theoretically never reach. Like solving world hunger. You can. It would be very. I don't want to say impossible, but to make sure every single kid on this earth has some food is
Impossible.
pretty much. I don't want to say impossible, but it's very unlikely
It
that
is impossible.
let's say
People will
impossible.
say it's possible, but
It's
there's
like, man, there's
good
always gonna
nuance.
be one person somewhere
One
who,
nuance, and
right.
it's like whatever.
So in that aspect, saving should not be something like that. I feel like saving should only be a goal that you reach and then you're done with. So let me extrapolate that. When you save money, ideally you want to save between 3 months or 6 months of expenses,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe add a little bit on top for surprises, accidents, stuff
Yeah.
happens. Life happens. But once you have that secured somewhere, that's money you just imagine you don't have. Because
Mm-hmm.
reason number one, inflation will eat away at your money.
Oh yeah.
That's just the way the dollar is designed. So you don't want to keep saving money that can be used for other things, and it's just being eaten away, slowly by inflation. So once you kind of reach that, I would say maybe at most, if you really want to be set aside a year worth of expenses to just be able to live your current lifestyle for a year. A
Mm-hmm.
year is a lot of time to figure out, what's going on and get yourself back on the right path.
Yeah.
So once you reach that goal, not only do you have that stashed away, but now with the excess cash that you still have, that's you're able to put in the savings, you can now move that towards, investments. Real estate, let's use a new example this time. So maybe you're just investing in a startup business, you
Mm-hmm.
just give the money. The concept is the same. You put money down and you earn interest. But
Yeah.
let's say you invest in your buddy's lemonade stand. You own half of it and you get a percentage of their profits every single
Yeah.
month. Now, would you rather be in that position where you have emergency savings aside, you have passive income on the side from your investment,
Mm-hmm.
and you still operate your own business that generates cash? Or would you be in a situation where, sure, you might have your own business, or you even might be employed, you earn consistent income, and you cut away pieces of that every single time to stash away? So not only is that money getting eaten by inflation, if you were to not have that job or business anymore, you don't have any assets generating that passive income.
Yeah.
And once you deplete that savings, you lose all of that time that it took you to build that,
Mm-hmm.
because all of that is directly and strictly time you have spent to earn that money.
Yeah.
And you want to strive to detach your time from income. Because even if you were to deplete that savings, which you shouldn't even have to, because anything you
You're
decide to
making so
spend,
much passive.
right, you're making so much passive income that pay for your wants. So if you want a Lamborghini, don't spend your hard-earned cash on the Lamborghini. Buy an asset that will pay for the Lamborghini. So whatever happens to you doesn't matter because you're not paying for it. That house you bought that's generating passive income is making the payments. So
Yeah.
you're out of the equation. But if you don't have assets and you save up for it and you
Hmm.
buy it, you are out of all that time you spent to earn
Yeah.
that money. And
I
what's
mean,
the one thing you can't get back? That time.
that time.
Time is everything. Time is money. So that's why I don't like saving after a certain point.
Hmm.
Your stuff can happen in life. You need cold hard cash, at any moment. That it's good to have something aside.
Yeah.
But ideally, you just want to figure out that amount, put it aside, and then forget about it. Focus on assets. Which based on that, do you kind of see which situation would be more favorable?
I see where my description explanation fell short.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, I think if you just keep saving, then it just feels like you're
Yeah.
pulling away money and not being able to spend it. So it appears as if you're making yourself more unhappy the whole time, just kind of basically saving
Right.
away at something that's chipping away.
Right.
What I was trying to say is
Right.
your savings is not necessarily what you're trying to stash it away from, but you're just being mindful about how you're or investing that money. So in other words, like, let's assume all that stuff, because I agree with you there. Like,
Yeah.
you put a limit to it. So let's assume you have a year's worth of
Sure.
expenses in the savings. Like, okay, I'm good. Like, you don't need to put much more. If you want 2 years, then sure. I
Yeah.
mean, more hats to you. But assuming that that's the cap,
Okay.
but you have all this extra money in terms of work and stuff, like, does it really? In my mind, I think to myself, like, I would not feel right having this money and buy myself the Lamborghini and using the assets if it was like the passive income of like a tenant or other things, investing and spending into it. The way I would see it
Mm-hmm.
is, I would say I would put that money into making the house like putting it into like helping or working in that space. Like, whoever the tenant is in that space is like, you know what, like, you guys,
beyond my abilities at the moment.
maybe
Is
the
that Siri or Alexa?
yeah, mind blowing.
Okay.
It was Siri, but I was like,
Mhm.
the way I would see it would be like,
Yeah.
if they have done a good job taking care of my asset in terms of renting and doing well with it, I would invest money into that space, which not only would improve
Yeah.
the way they're living, but also
Right.
to show that, but that costs money. And it's like, maybe it doesn't up the rent or anything, because like, that's not the point. But then it's like, it's those kind of things where I think to myself, like, there's always a way to wisely give back without it being, and that's just me, which is why I'm like, if a Lamborghini makes someone happy and
Yeah,
you
it
use
comes
assets
down
of
to
that
that.
nature, then I'm
Yeah.
like, I would question your lifestyle, but I would still be like, like, it's your money, I can't do
Right.
shit with it. But
Right.
I would still ask myself that same question, which still relates to discipline and all the other things, was
Yeah.
like, that discipline got you here in the first place.
Right.
And then all of a sudden to like revert back to your old tendencies, which it's like assuming that then all of a sudden it's all good, is where I start asking myself, like,
Yeah.
was then the goal worth saving for? You know what I'm saying? I guess that's why I'm saying, like, I'm seeing it in this bigger futuristic sense where it's like, because now the business
Mhm.
is not just a money incoming, that is your reputation on the line. And if you don't put more money into it, kind of things, and then that's why people get caught in like personal investments versus the way the business run. Or I think about like people that are tenants being like bitter that this person is like millions of dollars wealthy and he's not doing anything to help take care of the spaces and stuff that they're living in, and he's raising the like rents and stuff. I see this from both that side and from the other side, because I've
True.
had privileges of getting to
True.
meet people of that high economic status, and
True.
that's always been kind of my like two biggest questions I've ever
Yeah.
asked
Okay.
them. And so when I hear all that stuff, it makes me go like, I totally understand what it's like to be on that side. Like it's not fun necessarily
Mm-hmm.
because of the amount of responsibility that's generated behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like big stuff. And I think it's because of that's why I ask myself those questions. So where it's like, I don't want to build, because I think what you're sharing is really great and sound. But I guess I just have that burning depth of a question. Maybe I don't want it to be too cynical sounding,
No.
but just being transparent with like, man, like I would want to like think about my intentions of the kind of investments I'm doing or other stuff.
Right.
And that's where I'm like, maybe your example is way better than mine, or
No,
more sound than it, because I'm thinking maybe I need to see it from that perspective in order to make whatever I'm talking about possible.
Right. I mean, I feel like, yes, you should always think of reinvesting in your business in some way. And not
Mhm.
every business is the same.
Yeah.
Some will be more reputation oriented. Some will just be, consumer producer type relationship. And I don't know the owner. I don't care. I just want my product type thing.
Mm-hmm.
If I open up a restaurant and people go eat there and they see, roaches everywhere, that will destroy my business because it's directly linked to my reputation.
But
But
maybe not that extreme. Like
well, not as well.
I'm thinking, like
Yeah.
like let's assume it's just more like it's not like the place is not taken care of, but it's like it's going to cost millions of dollars for you to renovate it. But you
True.
want to keep it for 20 years. Then
True.
that
And
style
it would
will look.
make total sense.
You
You
want
make
you're
total
happy
sense.
with the employees, but you don't feel like maybe it's worth the income. But some of them are not as happy
Right.
with it. So I'm just thinking like things of that nature. Whereas instead of it being like, oh, this is a problem, I need to do it now. I'm thinking, if you're already thinking, I'm doing all this stuff so that way the future already in near sightness is going to be like, boom,
Mhm.
like promotion you're building there. Little things like that.
Right.
Even the assumption of like, so I don't want to use extreme examples because, like, of course, I think by the time there's roaches to that degree, it's like
Yeah, it was
you
just-
probably already
it
have
was extreme.
problems
It was
like
extreme.
years. You probably had years of other things where I was
Yeah,
like, you're
yeah,
probably
yeah.
just bad at managing. But I'm
Right.
thinking like someone that like really believes that they're doing the best in that business and it kind of plateaus in the sense of like, all right, I've done this, now I'm going to move on to the next asset or other things. And I think you're saying that like everyone obviously needs to invest a little bit into their business anyways. And I'm going, yeah,
You got to. Yeah.
I agree. But what if you want to? I'm just thinking, but like if everyone just did the norm,
Mm-hmm.
then why would people want to do your business versus someone else that's going to do the same matchup? It's like you're always going to have to compete also with other people too. So there's these other things that comes with your business. The same thing with your apartments or
Right.
tenant
You're
stuff.
gonna
It's
want
like
to.
you're
one-up
competing
them
with
in
other
some way,
people.
offer more.
Someone's going to up it just a little bit, look
True.
a little nicer, a little more spacious.
That's true.
So I think it's because of that mindset already. I'm already like, I'm competing. Same thing with photography. Like, I understand my worth, but I'm going to keep making it way better and making the
course.
experience even
Rightfully so.
that much nicer, because that will be the difference between someone paying me $300 or paying for someone else $500, but the experience is way nicer.
Yeah.
So,
I totally understand, and yes, I did use an extreme example, but the I want to say kind of the moral or the point of the thing is, at some point you're gonna start getting
more passive
loads
income
of
than
cash, okay? And there's only so much money you can really use to improve your business.
So then you have to just spend it on stuff that you enjoy, which
Right.
means in turn
Right.
you won't have to worry about not
Earning the same amount of
not
active
restricting
income.
yourself from those things.
Right.
I
Because
feel you.
everyone has their own little things they splurge in that's not necessarily, valuable in
that's
any
like-
way, but it's
yeah.
valuable to them.
I agree.
So for me,
I have no problem
I
with
could
that.
love cars. I could love Lamborghinis, and I could go invest in some business or real estate or stocks or whatever that'll pay for that. Somebody else might love, I don't know, light bulbs. Exotic light bulbs. I don't know,
That's just-
like
well,
whatever they're
You're a
into.
collector in some way,
Right,
like
right.
something that you just love.
Right.
So I get it. I
I-
don't have a problem with that.
Yeah. So ideally, you don't want to spend money that it took time for you to generate on those things. You want to spend money that is kind of, I call it glitch money, money that just creates itself from your investments. That's the kind of money you want to use to man, here I go again. Enrich your life. Inside thing,
Mm-hmm.
inside joke. But you want to kind of use that to enrich your
For you,
life. I'm sorry.
I was saying for you.
Yeah. No, like, I hate using
I don't know what this inside
the
joke is,
no
but
the
I
little Apple terms, man. I don't like using those terms, but enriching, your life. Um,
oh nah, man.
yeah, I don't like
We
doing
don't
that.
use that one enough
Really?
in the business space. I
Okay.
don't think so. I think we use,
I
I
don't
think we
hear it.
use worse word. I think we use strategic words.
Strategic words? Yeah, yeah, just
we
totally,
use we
totally,
use smart words, and you're
totally.
just kind of like, what? Huh?
I
Uh,
agree.
like I feel numb to it. It's like having too much sugar.
I agree. I agree.
Pretty
It's
soon the sugar is just bland as shit,
right. It's just
and I wonder why I got fat in the first place.
saved in my head, man.
Yeah,
I can't get away from them. But
yeah. But thanks for
hey,
reminding me of that one. Now it's
oh,
gonna be stuck in
totally,
my mind.
totally. So yeah, moral of the story: just invest. Well,
The
use money.
goal
Yeah, the goal
to
is to
invest and save to eventually get to the point of glitch money that you called it,
right.
in order to not have to sacrifice
Yes,
on other things in life.
yes, because
Disclaimer:
yeah,
this may take you 20 to 30 years, so by that point you're getting nice and old. You could be lucky, but
it doesn't even have to.
but the discipline to getting to that point, to wait, actually, ironically, it's not even ironic. It moves into the next
Mhm.
topic that I was going to bring up.
Sure.
So I set up 4 topics for this quick talk and chat, and this one was called strategical planning
Yes.
versus tactical planning.
I just like
And
the sound of that.
by no means
Elaborate.
was this my original idea.
Okay.
Shout outs to a guy that I really admired, Jocko Willing, for explaining it.
Hmm.
So in his military explanations, he says there is the overarching goal in a war, and that is
You said in a war?
yeah. So he
Okay.
uses because he was a
Mhm.
serviceman
Okay.
in the Navy SEALs. So he says
Hmm.
in the grand scheme of it, there is a strategic plan to win the war.
Mhm.
So let's use the war as like the goal. Like there
Sure.
is a goal in mind.
To winning the war.
And sometimes that goal requires long-term planning to where in the moment
Mhm.
things don't quite make sense, but in its long-term effects, it will
They
do
make
something
sense.
to get there.
Okay.
You think of it in chess or any other example.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you need to finance is a good example. In financing, you have to invest a lot of money, risky, in order to generate and save more money. So that would be the example of strategic goal. You're going to have to make these weird sacrifices or spend or do something that seems out of the norm, but in the long term goal,
Yeah,
it will get there. That's what strategic
could, yeah,
was.
yeah.
Then you use tactical as the short-term goals, which will sometimes in the spur of the moment or in these monetary moments, you've got to make quick changing decisions
True.
in order to get to the main objective.
Right. I agree.
And really trying, and he highlights very deeply that not a lot of people strategically plan. A lot of people tactically plan. And I hope I'm not butchering this example of the way he said it. In the
Okay.
sense that it's saying a lot of people have so many short-term goals that they eventually veer off the path to where it's like, where am I going? And he encourages.
People don't even know where
Exactly.
they're trying to go, and that only leaves them with, minute by minute decision making.
Yeah.
And it's just sporadic decision making that doesn't necessarily lead them anywhere.
Yeah.
That's just what feels good to them at the time.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I feel like if I get your point, you
Long-term planning versus short-term
long
planning
term planning
goals.
versus short term planning, and kind of using both of those to get to where you're trying to go and kind of veer you on the right path
Mhm.
if you skew off of it. Okay, I feel like that's good, and everyone should do that to some degree, even if you have a vague idea of where you're trying to be. Just kind of doing those tactical, you know, uh, doing tactical thinking and tactical planning to kind of get to that general area, and then maybe you can figure out where precisely you're trying to get to in the long-term aspect of it as you get there. So always having
Mhm.
like a direction is very valuable, because every day you don't know what direction you're going. That's every day you're not moving towards the direction you want to
So
go to.
But wait, how would you know what direction you're going to if you're
Well,
if you're achieving short-term goals versus long-term in a unplanned or unstrategic manner?
I mean, you can always set small goals for yourself that don't necessarily lead you to any meaningful place. It could just
Yeah. So
be
then, how
unnecessary
would that
goals.
eventually get you to
Well,
decide
it
on a
wouldn't.
longer-term goal?
That's why you need to sit and reflect on the things that interest you, the kind of things you want to get into. So I could know, for
But
example,
that
that
makes me unhappy. Kind of, I'm using their example.
Mhm.
Like we're sitting thinking of ideas like
Sure.
big long-term goals, and then you look at that long-term goal and going, "That's going to take too long. I want to feel good now." And it's like, but how are you going to get to there? Well, I'll figure it out. I'm going to do this day by day and kind of like, maybe I'll figure out what I kind of want to do. I guess the
a
reason
lot of people
why,
are in that
yeah.
space.
The reason why I'm bringing that up is
Yeah.
because it's like, I think it's because people are unspecific or don't
Mhm.
even have a long-term goal in mind
I think
that they are
that's
aimlessly
Mhm.
finding no purpose in what they're doing. So to make up for it,
Mhm.
I'm just going to do day-by-day goals, short-term goals.
I agree.
Just
Yeah.
kind of fun.
I
And that's
agree.
what's beating you up. And you're wondering why you're not getting to this bigger goal that you have. And I'm going, I don't know, because
I don't know the
you don't even know what you want to do,
Yeah.
right? And I know I got a plan. Like, I want to save money. I want to get this. I want the car as the
Mhm.
example. And you're going,
Mhm.
okay, if it's well worth it for you,
Right.
what about the sacrifice? So I think what Jocko is going to, and why I think this is a curious thing to talk about, is long-term planning is one of the more necessary methods of approaching life
Very
Then-
much so. Couldn't agree more.
than
You
the
gotta have that
tactical or
long term.
short-term.
Yes.
The short terms are more supposed to be the sense of like being willing to be flexible in the grays
Mm-hmm.
without compromising on that strategic goal.
Okay.
So in other words, it's like I think people need to be specific. I think people need to know where you're going. And if you don't know,
Mhm.
yes, I agree, just as we were saying, at least get started. But you got to know where you're going. Like
You do.
you at least don't know, like now we'll use the fitness again. It's like you don't know specifically, I guess, what you're trying to do in the gym. But the long-term goal was for more energy,
Yes.
proactivity of like moving harder,
Yes.
for the result of being able to then work at a better capacity to do everything that you said, which was, as we're talking from there, to the thing that you're saving for, which is to build and generate the passive income to where now
Yeah.
Karamoko doesn't have to sacrifice on all the other things. He can enjoy that.
Definitely.
But see, then this is where I'm saying the short-term goal is for you to just get in there.
Right.
You achieved it.
Right.
And now to make that the habit to where you'll go regardless because that long-term goal is important.
Mhm.
However, now the sacrifice is now you have to start thinking about specific goals. What exactly is going to help you get that more energy? That requires a little research, a little more digging in, a little more like what specific exercises are going to improve on that
Mhm.
and which ones will not.
Right.
So that's where I'm
Naturally
like,
so.
so I think that's where but that's where the long-term goals have to come into effect. Like if
Mhm.
the energy thing is what you're going to, then I think short-term, it's like just getting in, good. But that's like short. That's the
very
tactical
short.
planning.
Yeah.
And that will become the routine that will keep on. But now it's getting into the specifics.
True.
Okay, what's going to generate better energy? Is it anaerobic or
Yeah.
aerobics? At what cycles?
Right.
What foods am I going to be eating?
Right.
How am I going to keep that routine? Planning and everything is going to change. How am I going to manage that with the other stuff?
It's like a domino effect. You do one thing and it'll push you to kind of do the next to get to where you want to go. You know, they all kind of fit hand in hand. You know,
I wish that was the case.
you don't think so? I feel like that's the case.
Because why do people quit? If it was that, because see, if it was that,
Yeah.
then I don't think people would have quit. But see, I think people quit not just because it's hard,
Mm-hmm.
but because now you got to put more effort for something that you don't even know if you see the results or not. Because see, if the goal long term was actually something that they wanted, then I feel like they would be willing to put in that effort and work into it. But see, because it's just day by day, well, I'm just gonna like try to do it. I'm kind of interested in it.
Then they don't want it bad enough. I think that's what it comes down to. They just don't.
Maybe.
You can fantasize about having, these fast cars, these yachts, and mansions. And I'm sure everyone wants that. Any sane person would want, you know, if not those things, the ability
They would
to
at
get
least
those things.
want more than where they are
They
currently.
are, yes.
Yeah.
But it just comes down to the fact that they are not only is it hard, it requires effort, and that requires people to get out of their comfort zone.
Which
Because
requires
as long
sacrifice.
as you're in that comfort zone, you can never get to the where you want to be zone. You
Which
gotta
is
get
why
out
I'm
of the
saying
comfort
it's
zone.
sacrifice.
You have to sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
People are not willing to make the sacrifice. That's just what it comes down to.
And I think it's because we keep telling people that your goals are valid or good.
What do you mean by that?
I think it's just sometimes we just have to hit the hard road where it's like, that's not a good enough goal.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
that's
yeah.
like, I think you need to like put a little like consideration into this or that. Like, because if it was simply just like the goal wasn't good enough or they didn't want it bad enough,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I'm pretty sure that people really want it bad, but it's just, if it requires change, again, but the example,
Yeah.
you can't eat that food. Oh, but like, I'm not going to be happy. Like, I really need it. Again, because remember, it's like, if your goal is already to be at a place where
Yeah.
you don't have to sacrifice a pleasure, then it's like, well, you really want it now. So then once you meet the goal, which is the same thing, then you'll plateau again, because then it's like you hit the goal, you're going to eat or do the things you want to anyways. And it's like, but then you're going to hit right. It'll be the same thing as digging into your savings. This is why I'm saying the mindset of sacrifices stuff is so necessary, because it's not the idea of like just stopping this and eating. It's literally the ability of saying what you're living now has to stop
Mm-hmm.
forever. Because even then when you get to the goal,
Mm-hmm.
your mindset shouldn't even be like, all right, now this happy person is now jumped into here.
Right.
No, that person that was down here is the very person that's going to drag you right back down,
That's true.
which requires change and sacrifice.
It does.
So I think this is why I feel so deeply about that, both in finance as well. It's like, I can tell you so many people that have that kind of money, they don't even think about vacations anymore. Literally, vacation is like a random ass example of like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what? We got maybe a week to spare. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, wow, when's the last time you guys had a vacation? It's like, it's been 10, 15 years. You're like, what? I'm like, I'd be dying.
Mm-hmm.
But no, they understand the goal. They understand sacrifice. I think about people that are fitness people. It's like, yeah, they might have like a drink or donut or something. But it's like, it's like they have to consciously be like, oh, I think it's okay to kind of do so. But like, it's not a like, all right, man, like I can have as much as I want. And I think in the same mindset, like this is why I find that desire of like, people don't like that. It's not that they don't want the goal that bad. It's the idea of, I got to give this up for
The greater good.
not, yeah, exactly. And they're like, doesn't sound good enough. So that's why I don't think about it as like the goal's not worth it enough for them. It's that really giving that up. So the example, that's why I keep asking about the investments and other stuff. Yeah, it's like technically that's the goal, but like getting to that point is so far down the line. That's like every other step of the way is going to require some sacrifice. And it's that kind of thought of like, will you just naturally be okay with it enough and enough that literally by the time you get to where you're at, that's not even thought in your mind of being like, all right, I guess I can just splurge. You're already like, man, I just want to keep doing the thing that I was loving doing in the first place, which was I was enjoying giving, like building the tenant spaces a little nicer. I just loved my employees that much. So I just want to keep making sure that they're happy and going here.
Mm-hmm.
And like, and then it's like more on the random conscious level where you're like, oh, like I literally have to spend some money. Like I guess I can buy that car thing that I loved or interest. It's kind of one of those things where I'm thinking to myself, like, honestly, like that kind of level of mentality.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I've ever seen it before. And I wonder if it's because of that then maybe that's what we have to dig deep on. And I don't want to keep using finance as the forcible example.
I mean, hey,
but like that,
it works.
but especially for fitness,
Yeah.
like I think that's what it is. I feel like that's why people regress in fitness, in their health, because they meet these goals, but they never built the joy or at least the conscious habit into
Okay.
themselves. So then they regress right back. I literally was at a gym recently, and there was a client that was there that I didn't see for a while. And then when she was back, I was like, oh, like, what happened? She was just like, well, like, took time off, but like, she was just enjoying eating and all the same stuff again. She was like, she didn't feel, she went right back, she said, to where she was in the beginning, starting over. And I sat there being like, you spent 6 to 8 weeks building and training, discipline, and building to that point. Then you went right back and splurged. It took you only a month or two. And now you got to do this all over again? So I think about that from fitness to even like people's characters. You know, someone is making great improvements in their numbers and sales, or just like it's all giddy and going up there. And as soon as they get the promotion, then they're just an asshole. And you're going, where'd that other guy go? Oh, that's right. He just wanted the promotion. But this is who he really is. And now you're going to sit there by yourself being like, and now we're just going all over again. Because then when he gets all nice and good again and starts showing his numbers, then you're going, oh, maybe there's a promotion thing going up. Like, would you really want to support? Like, people are smart to know that.
Right.
And I think that's where I sit there being like, nah, I would rather have the leader that might be a little bit of a dick, but he's good at what he does.
Right.
But he's not getting promoted. Why? Because someone just doesn't like him versus being like, he's consistent and he's good at what he does. Like, I don't know. I find that passion behind that just
I
a
see
lot.
what you're saying. I see what you're saying. And I want to ask you this, and I'll formulate it in also in a way where you get where I'm coming from, but as a question too. So do you feel that the speed at which people get to their goal, not saying that it's a definite, line, once you get there you're kind of done, but like the speed at which they push through and reach a certain level of success is not correlated to how bad they want it? Because there's two types of drives that can push someone to stay consistent at a certain thing. And for most people, specifically the people that get a good run, maybe they stay consistent at, again, the gym example, they keep going for 2-3 a month, 6 months. Okay. The person that quits midway through his journey or at some point during their journey, their drive was motivation. Motivation is what they pushed them to get there. But the thing is, motivation is not a constant feeling.
Yep.
At some point, one day you're not going to be motivated.
Yep.
You're not going to want to go.
Yep.
You will not want to move a finger.
Yep.
And when that motivation fades away, that person who went for 3 weeks, 6 months, whatever it was, will quit. But then there's the other guy who is not fueled, not necessarily in whole, but his main fuel, his main drive is not dependent on his motivation. That person will go whether he's happy, whether he's sad, whether he's angry, whether he doesn't feel good that day. That person will go because he does not need to be in a certain environment or in a certain frame of thinking to complete a certain action that will lead towards his ultimate goal.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of say it just depends how bad you want it. Because if you want it bad enough, no matter how motivated you are, no matter how bad you feel, whatever you're feeling at the time will not matter, because you know what you need to do, because you know where you want to go and you know how bad you want to get there. So if you want it bad enough, that level of dedication will eclipse whatever motivation, the lack of it, or the existence of it. So that's why I just feel like if you really, really, really want it bad enough, you will succeed. But if you give up midway, or you just go 1 or 2 days, or you don't go at all, it's because you're solely relying on motivation. And you should not use motivation as a drive for anything in life.
I agree.
That's my personal opinion.
I agree.
It's good. It's a nice feeling. but you should not rely on motivation.
Agree.
So whatever you feel like you want to do, just know that, just have a conversation with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Do I really want this so bad that I can wake up any given day, feel any type of feeling, feel totally devastated, borderline depressed? Will I still be able to get up, muster the
Yep.
willpower to do what I need to do?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And if someone says, no, I don't think I could, if, this happened or that happened, that tells me personally that, well, this, you don't want it bad enough.
You know why?
Why is that?
Because the desire to want it bad enough is motivation. Why do you have to psych yourself into doing that?
Let me say that.
Why
The
do you have to listen?
desire
Why
to want it bad enough is? Can you
is-
say that line one more time?
the desire to want something bad enough
Mm-hmm.
is motivation. Is a
Why would you desire to want something bad?
because whether you desire it or not,
Yeah,
you're gonna do it.
the desire to want something bad.
Exactly. Because it's not the desire, it's the discipline to do it. You don't want to desire discipline
You
or
don't
hard
want
work.
to desire, no.
So regardless if you desire it or not, you're going to do it. As you said, rain or shine, happy or light.
You
That doesn't sound like
you know what you gotta
exactly.
do. You know what you gotta do.
So that's why that's the irony behind it.
Hmm.
You just need to want it so bad that you're willing to get it. That sounds like a sales pitch to me. That sounds like a motivational speech. If you just really put
It can come
you get-
across that way.
but I say it so I try to say this very tentatively because it's whether you have the desire or not. I think people always adhere to the truth and discipline. And I don't think it's the desire for it. It's more realizing that this has to be good enough for me. And it's not a desire because whether I want it or not, which is eating
Yeah,
good
I
or
like
stuff.
that.
So that's why I'm saying it's the desire to say, if you really want it bad enough, you're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people really want to eat vegetables. I don't think people really want to put their body in pain.
No,
I don't think people really want to
don't.
not make themselves look like well established.
I
I
don't.
don't think people really want to look like a failure. But what do all these
Hopefully
things
not.
have in common? What do all these things have in common? It's that regardless,
Mhm.
that is the stuff that's going to get you forward.
That's true. It just is.
But no one desires it.
That's just
So
what it
if
is.
you really want it, it's the motivation.
you
It's not because see that's not what it is. Like for me, fitness became this. Every time I really wanted to get bigger, or other
Yeah.
things, it was like I really wanted it. So I tried all my things, but when you couldn't see the results or it wasn't coming out the way you wanted or
Mhm.
something wasn't working out, that motivation, the desire, fickled out.
right.
So that's why I was like, oh, maybe I'm not doing this. I got to keep changing this, or I don't feel like the results here. And I was doing this months, weeks,
Well, even then, you're
years
still being
into it.
proactive based on what I hear. You're
Relatively
still
proactive.
trying to.
But see, the problem is the goal, the desire
Mhm.
wasn't good enough. What makes me still fit in exercise was realizing that whenever I didn't go to the gym,
Mhm.
my day felt just a little off. When I didn't go into the gym, things just got a little more tensile.
Mhm.
When I didn't even exercise or kind of do these other things, I realized that, like I would watch someone else that wasn't exercising and realize, man, they can't do this.
Mhm.
Like, thank God I'm able to at least manage that.
Right.
And if I couldn't, like, would I still do it? There's something deeper behind it, which is why I'm saying, like, there's a purpose driven behind it. And it should be even bigger than you. Like, my fitness goals was so that way, if I get old, I could still run and play with my kids. It would be like,
That's a powerful.
and be
goal,
just
yeah.
because I'm willing to put myself through a little pain or stuff. If something else is a little more painful, it shouldn't faze me.
That's true.
If it means exercise a little more, just because that will drive that desire to just be more calm to a boss that maybe I can't like sustain,
Mhm.
it's like it's worth it.
Yeah.
And I see there's no desire behind that anymore. It's saying you realize that that is the bigger purpose. the desire to say, "Do you really want it?" It's like, well, I don't know. It's like that's where people are gonna start. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're just trying to motivate them, all someone has to say is, "I don't think your progress is that good." Desire, plop.
Plummet, and then they
You
stop.
want to desire to, you want to show people what
They
you're doing.
stop.
It's okay.
Mm-mm.
You're not doing it as fast as I am. Immediate blowdown.
Mm.
You're making YouTube videos, and then you're wondering why your views aren't as good. You watch other people. Demotivation.
And then you stop.
So then someone's going to look at you, oh, you didn't want it bad enough. And Karamoko's going to get offended because, like, no, I do. But. I'm just not motivated. Versus then when we were talking and I just said, we're just going to do this. And you're going, oh, okay. And no matter how we were trying to make it perfect or other stuff, it was just like, no, we're just going to do it. We're going to figure it out.
You did. You did.
Because it's not the desire of saying, like, I want this bad. It's saying, no, man, I know what I'm striving for now. But that's an escalation level to that people are trying to jump over to.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying all the other tiers had to be built. I had to quit doing photography 3 times in a row before I actually wanted to do it in this kind of phase and manner.
Mm-hmm.
3 times.
That's a lot. That's a lot of times.
So all 3 times people could have just said, you didn't want it bad enough. I've done fitness a majority of my life. And I not just quit. Other times it was just like, I didn't know what I was going for.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted this. So, of course, people are going to look at me and be like, you didn't want it bad enough. And I think I've lived enough of those mistakes and frustrations that I say, that I realized was the problem. I was trying to motivate myself with the desire to want it bad enough, which became the phoenix. It was burning brightly and then just fickled out. Because I wasn't enjoying just simply being a phoenix without the fire and flames. I just needed to be that. This is the main reason why I have that kind of. That's why I said the statement that I did. Not to be harsh to people, but to really just realize, like, it's got to be bigger than just the desire. Saving has to be that lifestyle for Karamoko, to where it's like, it's not, I want to be financially sustainable bad enough. It's saying, no, I just know that there's people out there that could use this level and insight for yourself and for the way you want to take care of both your own parents and your own family in the future and other people along the way. That it's saying, Karamoko's sacrifice, while others may not be doing it, you're doing it. And it's like, it's not the desire anymore. It's just simply, I know this is good for me. And whether people are like, it's not fast enough, does it look good enough, are you sure you're doing it the right way? Karamoko is going to keep doing that saving because deep down he knows, like, this isn't just a motivational thing for me.
Right.
This is everything. It doesn't matter if it's YouTube video status, this or that. Saving is number one in some way, shape, and form. That's what makes you super, like, intentional about your saving ability. That's what makes you excited when you see cents being added onto that Excel spreadsheet. You're not going every day like, I want it bad enough. It's like, maybe. There's random days where, of course, I'm more stoked in the gym than other times. There's more times where you're just like, man, I'm saving pretty good. But, like, that's not what is fueling that.
I respect that.
So that's why I say, like, that is the nitrogen fuel. If I have to use the Fast and Furious example, that is, like, the glitz and glamour in a fashion show. That is the bodybuilding show. Like, it's all just a filler. And I think people are so caught up on trying to find that drive and desire. It'll get you started, but that will never sustain you.
No.
And that's why people quit.
Yeah.
Because,
Agreed.
again, it is short term.
Short. Comes and goes. You can't rely on motivation.
You cannot
Cannot
rely.
on it.
Therefore, in hindsight of my little dissertation,
Yeah.
the desire to want it bad enough is motivation.
Do you feel, I want to make sure I understand fully. Do you feel like the desire to want something bad enough and wanting something bad enough is two different things or the same thing?
Uh, I think, I think in the technical definitions to it, I think desire in itself is a motivation. If someone desires something
Yeah, just
bad
that term
enough
enough.
and
Yeah,
wanting it enough,
yeah.
I see it more in the practical sense. Someone's talking about wanting to do it. Someone is actively trying to do it, but it's always stemmed from the same reactors. You saw something, you're like, man, like I'm totally excited to hear that.
Yeah.
Why? Oh, hear you heard someone that was motivatedly talking to you. Gary Vee was a fiery thing,
Yeah.
but like those are all just spotlight stuff. So it's hard to see how badly someone wants it at that point. But someone that really wants it is where I'm saying, like, I think maybe that's a term that we need to put different words to what that person is actually doing. Because I'm wondering if it's not that they want it bad enough. Is that they know that that is like worth
What
doing.
what they want their future to look like.
Exactly.
You know.
So that's why I'm like, I don't know if it's even wanting anymore, because again, it goes back to all those examples of like things that you don't want to do, but it's exactly where you got to take it and embrace it in order to do the thing that you want.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying the desire of wanting actually are both motivational things. Because I want money. So I could desire money. It's like two symptoms to the same thing. I desire that want. I want that lamp. How bad do I want it? I really want it. Will you pay for it? I don't know, but I really want it. Versus saying, I know that I need that. Whatever it takes. Okay. In the right way or in my personal way? Because I could just take it. I got what I wanted.
Yeah.
Or am I going to say, I'm going to do it the right way? One's got a different...
It's got a different tone and
they set
feeling to it,
themselves
yes.
with the right steps. Because see, that's how I
Yeah, I
see it.
totally get where
you
you're
will
coming
accept your failures also.
Yeah,
You will
definitely.
accept, and you will be less inclined to hold on to your victories. You will appreciate them. Everyone wants.
Everyone does want.
We'll use the
Everyone does
example
want.
of just something very simple. Instagram. Everyone wants the IG girl. Everyone wants the hot babe with the big boobs and the big ass.
Everyone does.
I don't think people don't want that. But I think if they're being honest with themselves, like what they really need and what they're actually going for, like, will you take it with all your flaws? Nah, man, blah, blah. Or the other guy, like, will you take everything? That's why I have such a curiosity towards it. I'm like, it's motivation all in itself. Now that I think about it, about desiring the want it bad enough. Because I think a guy will want that IG girl bad enough. I'm going to keep going on bad examples. You want the girl bad enough that's like, I'll do whatever it takes. And it's like, okay. And once you get her, it's kind of like, great. I wonder if I could get someone else better. Like you're not even happy with it because, what? Maybe for a little bit, just because I'm trying to prove my point. Someone might be holding on and doing the other thing, but like, if we're being honest, like, versus, a real character, a real gentleman. There's a huge difference between the two. Because everyone can want. Everyone can desire that want.
Everyone can. Yeah.
Badly.
Definitely.
But I just think it's just fickle because it in itself is motivational. You got to psych yourself into it. You got to hype yourself into it. You got to drive and build these other things, which are all not bad, but they're just, I feel like they're all puffed up and not the real thing.
I agree with you to a certain degree, and I will explain why. I feel like we both see the same point, but we're on parallels. We're on different lanes, but we both are seeing the same thing. And the saying of wanting to want something, or the desire to want something,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that immediately implies that you don't already want it, but you would like to want something. Does that make sense? Like,
Hmm.
when I desire to want something really bad, it
Yeah,
kind of implies that I don't already want it, but I want to want it.
that's not what I'm saying at all.
So you're saying that you,
Everyone instinctively wants
yeah,
something.
but
So you don't have to will or
there's
say, I
levels
want that.
to how,
The measurement to it.
right.
I'm saying holistically, the statement and phrasing and what it implies and what people have done with that statement and phrasing to what people are doing
Mm-hmm.
is all fickle. I think people use it so often
Yeah.
that they all have their own interpretation of what it means.
Mm-hmm.
So for Karamoko, maybe that statement actually means the depth to what I am talking about. But I see 80% or long enough people
Mm-hmm.
that say the same thing, and I'm going, that's not what you mean.
Mm-mm.
Or actually, they literally mean what they mean. And I'm going, cool.
Mm.
And they're wondering why I'm not excited or stoked. I'm going, okay, cool. Why other people will look at them and they'll be like, what, man? Like, I'm really excited. Like, I'll do anything. They're going, and those people that are actually at the top are going, no.
Right.
And they get offended and wonder, like, what? But, like, I really want, like, look at all the things I'm doing. It's
Yeah.
like, no.
Mm.
I met people with that, and people, they get a bad rap. A lot of those people, which is
Mhm.
why, again, I say being there and seeing and understanding what that mindset is, I'm
Yeah.
like, I understand it and I appreciate it to the point where that's why I understand perhaps why I have that response differently.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm almost saying, I don't know if maybe you and I are actually on the same lane.
I think so.
We're just in two different cars of defining it.
I think so.
However, I'm now encouraging then, knowing that,
Yeah.
saying to reconsider a new phrase to describe
Totally agree.
really what it is.
Totally agree.
Because we want people to not be in that bad mindset.
Definitely agree. Definitely
And
agree.
at the same time, if they are, like, thank God it's not our job to stop that.
That's true. That's true. Do you agree with me on the fact that if you want to accomplish extraordinary things, you must do extraordinary actions?
Agree.
You know, to
I
get
just call it
extraordinary
sacrifice.
results. Well, to
I agree.
yeah, sacrifice.
It takes action.
You know,
And I say action, not just doing, because anyone
Right.
can just move around.
yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Specifically,
Extreme
Sacrifice
rewards
takes-
require extreme sacrifices.
Yep.
Okay. In general, because sometimes life works in weird ways, but generally speaking, extreme things require extreme sacrifices. Extreme sacrifices also generally are not desirable. They're not fun.
usually never are.
They're it's not something you innately just feel like, oh, I could just do that. You might not want to, it'll put you in an uncomfortable space.
Always.
Okay. So, do you also agree with me on the fact that to be able to endure those sacrifices, or get through them, you need a certain level of, what's the word I'm looking for? You need to have a certain level of, I'll just use the word desire. You need a certain level of desire to be able to withstand and push through those tough, harsh sacrifices. Because without that desire, why would you even do it in the first place? Why would you put yourself through that if you don't desire? Are we on the same? Did we diverge roads?
We did.
We did. Okay, that's the point.
Because I hear
Why
what
do you
you're
feel
saying
that?
by desire. Because desire always comes with expectations.
Yes, I agree.
And when your expectations are not met, then you didn't get what you desired. Desire will disappoint and break you down in that regard. So to me, it's that you want to achieve or do something
Yeah.
no matter the cost. And the way I say it is, again, counting the cost. And if you're already in the action of sacrificing greatly,
Yeah.
the will is not there. You're going to have to the desire is not going to be there. You're going to have to will yourself into it. Oh, I don't want to do it. You have to do it. Shit.
Well,
So at that point, and this is a good example.
Yeah.
If you got to wake up early, I was just talking to someone in the gym about this and myself.
Sure.
The alarm goes off. It's 5:30 in the morning. You have two actions.
Mm-hmm.
You wake up, get out of the bed. It's freaking cold. Your body's aching. And you got to walk yourself over.
Right.
You got to make the coffee.
Right.
Whatever it takes to get you at least quickly started.
Right.
But you got to get your ass into the gym at 6 o'clock. Because if you don't, then you won't be able to get the other stuff done.
Sure.
In that split moment, when you wake up and see the alarm at 5:30, you could do another action.
Mm-hmm.
You know, okay, I'm going to stay in bed for like 5 more minutes. I'm going to set the alarm. I'm going to like wake up and then I'll be good to go.
Yeah.
Maybe. Or maybe not. A lot of people usually say that moment
Mm-hmm.
of compromise, and assuming you do get out of bed and get there by 6 o'clock anyways,
Yeah.
those two things will show one thing. Most of the time. It's not, again, the desire or like that want, I guess, but the will to just simply say, even in that very moment of discomfort, you should have just got up, listened to the alarm, and did what you did.
Did what you did. Yeah.
Because if you made that 5-minute sacrifice there, well, next time maybe it's 6 minutes, maybe it's 7 minutes, or because you're always going to make steps of, well, I met my goal last time, so you know what? I'll make another exception.
Yeah.
I'll make another exception. My video game example.
Yeah.
$5 here versus the thousands of dollars I was saving.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, what's the margin difference here?
Mm-hmm.
It's those kinds of little disciplines where I'm saying that's not desire. You fulfilled a want. You want to be feeling a little good or feeling like ready.
Mm-hmm.
Again, setting yourself in the mindset of being in the place to do it, which is the same thing as motivating yourself to do it. Because
Sure. Yeah, I agree.
because then otherwise, if it's not that, then it contradicts what that thing was. So you're going to do it whether rain or shine, happy or sad.
Yeah.
Because see, that's not in the mindset of where you are.
True,
'Cause
true.
when you're angry, I don't think you want to do it.
True.
If you're depressed, I don't think you want to get out of bed, exercise.
You don't want to, no.
Well, if you're happy,
Sure,
Okay.
you might want to, but
exactly.
be
Because
tomorrow.
see, so therefore I say
Yeah.
it negates all sense of desire, which means anything of you that says, like, I really, really want it. Because regardless of that, whether you really want it or not, if it really is important,
yeah,
you're going to do it.
definitely.
And
you
that
do.
will define the thing where you said rain or shine, happy
Right.
or sad, good or bad feeling. Because it's going to be so now I don't want to use other examples. Let's still stick with this.
Sure, sure.
And that is why I say desire. It becomes small fuels as more confirmations in my mind, which is why it's still motivational. There's nothing wrong with motivation as it should not be the thing, as you said,
No,
to
it
sustain
shouldn't
you.
be the
So
thing
therefore
to
I'm saying if
sustain
it shouldn't sustain you, then it's just more supplemental.
you.
In the sense of like, you hear someone else saving, you're like, yeah, this is why I'm doing it. Awesome.
Mhm.
I'm stoked, maybe a little more happy to do the thing that I'm doing, but regardless of that or not, I'm going to
You
do
will
it.
still do what you got to do.
Exactly.
I see where we converge that.
And that's why I'm
I
saying,
spotted it.
so
I
that's
know.
why I'm emphasizing definitions in that regard, because it's like, I don't know if you mean
Yeah.
what I was hearing, and vice versa with
No, I
others.
do. I do.
So I always ask, that's why I ask so definitively,
Right.
because I'm like, that's important. And that's what I'm saying, perhaps that's what you mean.
Yeah.
And if that's what you're meaning, then I'm like, cool.
He-
But
he-
for all people that are listening or not,
Right.
now you know what I mean by it. Because if you think
Definitely.
about it, you might not want to use that word desire or want, because every word has a meaning and intention.
does.
So even if you are interpreting it in a certain way,
Mhm.
the word itself already has a depth of meaning that you got to start ingraining things about.
that you do.
Now, a lot of linguists might disagree with me, but
We don't care.
exactly. For now.
For now.
Come at me later.
So based on what you just said there, that just kind of clicked into my head why we're in two different lanes. And let me correct myself. The desire I'm referring to is not the desire to get up and go do that action. The desire I'm referring to is the desire for that ultimate goal, So as long as you desire that ultimate goal bad enough, no matter how you feel today, you will perform that small action that you need to do. Going to the gym, working
Yeah.
out, doing whatever you need to do. It won't matter how you feel, because you
Yeah.
won't desire to do that small action,
Strategically. Yeah.
but you desire that North Star, that end goal. Does that kind of
I agree.
put us back in the same car?
I think that puts us
Closer.
closer because I agree
Okay.
holistically in the sense of that's the desires at the long-term space.
Yeah. Because it would make no sense to do everything you're doing now, make all those
If you don't even
sacrifices if
care
you don't
for it.
desire the ultimate goal.
Yeah. But I wonder if maybe the word I would use is care. So in that sense,
Sure,
I
yeah.
do agree
Yeah.
with you where it's like, yeah, you gotta want it. Duh. It's like you gotta love and enjoy it.
But really bad.
But I'm saying, does the really bad include all the bad things, or is it just the idea of what that goal looks like, which is I don't have to sacrifice anything. I'm looking good. I'm at my peak, like. Because see, the thought of desire image is saying there's still an imprinted image of expectation to what that long-term goal looks like.
Well, let's use care then.
So that's what
Do
I'm
you
saying.
care about it enough?
And that's what I'm saying. Maybe. I think that's why I'm saying maybe I'm just looking at it very like microscopically.
Yeah.
But holistically, I agree with you. In
Okay.
both what the word
Like big
desire
picture.
or care, big picture I get.
Big picture.
I'm perhaps being too scrupulous about how I'm seeing it because I'm just that stupidly meticulous. So I agree with you in that sense of, yes, you got to obviously want it and like it enough or care for it enough to want to do
To
it.
weather
That
the
will motivate
storms.
the other thing.
Yeah.
And maybe it's that like, therefore it will do this is where I'm like, maybe. But that's where I'm like, maybe it's for another time if someone actually cares to hear what I have to say. Because I agree
Totally.
with that. You just got to first like it enough to actually want to do it.
Right.
To actually want to do it. But I'm saying, I think there's a reason why a lot of people don't is because they don't actually desire it holistically.
You were about to say it.
I think because they don't want to desire it holistically. Because that's what I'm saying. Do you know? Maybe I'm just asking. Like, do people know what it all entails, and are you okay with all that? For me, it's fitness. Where I'm like, okay, I know you want to look fit, but I'm saying, but will you enjoy being in pain? Will you enjoy having to say no to the food? Will you enjoy all of that? And even though they don't, it's saying, but that's what it entails. So if you desire all of that, which means embracing all of that, then I would say I think that person has the will to do it. But see, if they don't, I don't think they have the will. They just have the motivation.
Sure.
Therefore, the desire.
Fully agree.
Because there's an expectation to what this is going to look like. Because I know people that want to exercise and they're like, oh, but I'm just feeling good, like it doesn't hurt anymore. I'm like, that's not what exercising is. You need to keep getting
It's
to the
not
root
about
pain.
that.
But I don't like feeling hurt. Like, oh, like I gotta do this thing. Like I can't afford to do this. And that's where I'm like, okay, well, I mean, you can hold your goals, but I really want to eat this thing. Okay, well, I mean, if you want to prolong it, but no, but I gotta get to this goal on time. I'm going, there's no shortcut, motherfucker. So this is why I'm saying there being like, I guess I'm just more scrupulous about like the details of what someone's drive is. But holistically, between you and I, I'm like, I get it. But I'm so meticulous about this stuff.
That's
So
good,
why
and I like that, it challenges me to also view another perspective to anything I say, and that's very, very educational and enriching.
Because for finance, it's like that's why you can be like, it's gonna be tough work, and it's like it's gonna be a lot of
Right.
hard stuff. And if people are like, I don't want to do that, I want to do. Is there another way? I'm like, maybe. And then, but at that point, it's more circumstantial than it is like general.
Yeah.
And so I would say, really holistically and generalistically, it's like, could you at least do these other things? Which is embracing it all for what it is. That's where accountability and other things kick in. Because I think deep down, like, people are going to get tired of exercising and going through pain. People are going to get tired of trying to save and save and save. And it's like, when am I
course.
actually going to buy the thing? So I get it.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying, like, there's a crazy balance, which is called balance, to both reward yourself at the appropriate moments, which means maybe you're not going to save as much on that month or so, but it's like, hey, like, please reward yourself in the right way. When exercising and
also
meeting your
important,
goals,
yeah. You gotta
like,
do that from time
don't
to time.
splurge, but
Don't
enjoy it.
splurge, but
And in
enjoy
the
it.
same way, even if you meet the goal,
Mhm.
it's like, then don't splurge, but like, reward yourself appropriately. And I think those are the things I'm perhaps like trying to allude to, which is like you, by the time you get to the goal, that thing, what you did should be so ingrained in you that you're only going to consciously think about the splurging. Just like in exercise, you're only going to consciously have to think about, like, now I can eat the other thing. And with that, the recording has ended on
It did.
the
Video aspect.
on the
of
video
it.
aspect of things. And I guess we're kind of running out of time, but Karamoko,
No
any
worries.
last thoughts, which I think would be
Man,
touching?
I really love this this topic, and I feel like I want to get you. I want to be in the same car as you so bad, and I will not give up. But
All right,
I
let's
want
do
to
it.
close it out by saying this,
Mhm.
okay? Because I can see, at least I feel like I see exactly what you're saying from your point of view, and it makes total sense, and it totally aligns perfectly with what I'm saying.
Perfect.
I'm just trying to find the right words to link them so we get that that like
But
that's what you meant.
but
This
that's
whole
what
time.
I'm saying.
Yes.
I agree with you holistically, and I think what I'm saying is exactly your thought process, which is why I'm saying I don't disagree with you there.
Yeah.
It's just anytime it's particular words, then I'm like, interest. So I don't disagree with you. I think we're now in the same car. We're just obviously in two different seats. we're saying it in
Let's
the,
be in the same seat.
you can sit on my lap, bro.
Okay.
Like I get it. Like I get it.
I'm just kidding.
Which is why I'm like not too pressy on by. I'm like, I get it. Like you're on that same mindset and bubble. But maybe it's just for the sake of helping to describe and define it for people. And maybe that's where I just get lost in the details, because it's like, people know, and I desire to like hear it in its context or words.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's as you said, you have to have that in order to enjoy this, which is basically saying you have to know what the long-term goal is.
Right.
And know what its value and worth is enough that all other circumstances that will account and challenge you to compromise, pull away, or hold off on that goal will not happen. In other
Right.
words, you know what the value of the long-term goal is and what it's worth. That circumstantial
wish we were
short-term
recording this
moments
part.
will not come and stop you and hinder you from that. That would be the hope
Totally agree.
in a perfect person.
Totally agree.
And we are not any of that.
Man, I wish I could have just captured that part right there. Was a short little good thing to crop out. And in the same way you close it out, like in that way, I'm also gonna do my best to try and compress what I'm trying to the big picture I'm trying to paint. There's different degrees to people's desire, want, or care for something.
Agreed.
If you want $1 million, which I'm sure pretty much everyone does, you probably want $1 million really bad. Like, it would help me. It would change my life. It would do so much for me. So I really, really want that $1 million.
Agreed.
But in the same aspect, I mean, $10,000 is nice. It's still money that can do things. But
Yeah, not bad.
you probably don't want it as bad as $1 million. So the person who figures out their $1 million will most likely not quit. Well, has a less chance of quitting or stopping along the way if they find that $1 million thing that they know they really want bad. Because you got to look for it. You got to find that
Yeah.
million. It doesn't have to be an actual $1 million, but that knowledge of what you know that you want out of life represents that $1 million. So by knowing that, it doesn't matter how you feel today. It doesn't matter how you feel tomorrow. Depressed, sad, like we said. You will go through any hoops necessary to get to that $1 million because you want it so bad.
In the beginning.
Well, it could change
'Cause I agree.
down the line.
Well, I'm saying no, I agree. But let's keep using an example.
Right. So that's what I mean when I say if you really want it bad, you will jump through any hoops, no matter how you feel, no matter what you desire that day, no matter what's going on
And
that
I
day,
agree
you
with you
will
there.
do that. Whereas if you think that $1 million idea or place you want to be in life turns out to only be worth $10,000, just hypothetically speaking here, then at that point you might stop or lose that drive or just give in to that whole motivation. Oh, I don't feel good today, so I'm not gonna go.
And
So it
that's
turns
why I'm
out,
saying,
right?
but that $10,000 is the $10 million idea.
Well, yeah, you just realized it wasn't a million,
That's why I'm
so you gave
saying,
up.
no, but what if it is? It's just,
Well,
you just have to work.
well, not worth it to you.
So see, but that's why I'm saying, therefore, well, then now it goes back to what I was saying, which is desire is your anticipation or expectation of what that goal is. And then when you learn the hard truth that it's actually something else,
Which
again,
is
it comes
valuable
out,
in itself.
exactly, you're not going to be happy with it.
No.
And then you're going to quit. But I'm saying, no, that 10,000 can now go into converting buildings so you can actually make more money. But see,
True.
someone just quit versus actually realizing what's it going to take to make $10 million. You know, maybe it's going to be some slow steadies along the way. Maybe you're not going to make as much as you thought in this beginning. So you got to take some routes and other changes around it.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying. So therefore, it still confirms what I was saying, to where I'm like, the car or like the example, it's fickle. I don't want people to get desired for just 10 million and only when they see 10,000 they're not happy anymore. It's like, you made fucking $10,000. Now you can seem ready for the next thing. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, just because it may appear 10,000
Right.
means nothing. It's like, hey, like, keep going.
That's true.
I mean, Steve Jobs, if we have to use that example, company that was near bankruptcy twice. Does that really sound like a multi-trillion-dollar company to you?
Not at first glance. You'll be like, what is that?
So, if he was motivated by desire for Apple to look that way, he wanted $1 trillion, but it was going to not just be bankrupt, and then got fired.
True. Not what he
And then they were like, please come
expected
back.
for sure.
Why would you come back to a failing company?
Right.
That's a fucking failure. But see, what he saw was, regardless, he knew what Apple was. Regardless of how much it was going to make in the future, he just said, I know what it's worth.
There was a deeper meaning. Yeah.
It wasn't, for him, it wasn't worth multi-trillion dollars. It was invaluable. And that's the part that perhaps maybe that's where I'm saying our alignments are in there. Like,
Oh,
you're-
that million represents that invaluableness.
exactly. And that's what I'm
basically,
saying. Even if it comes out 10,000, it's like,
Yeah.
no, that's just one way of looking at it.
True.
Because
true.
see, I don't think they enjoyed the process enough.
That's true.
If their expectation, desire, was for 10 million, they only saw that, then it's like, I would look at that person and say they didn't want it bad enough. Not because they saw 10 million and now thought 10,000. It's like, no, that's just like low self-esteem.
Right. I agree.
That's not it.
Okay.
So now we're agreement again. Where I'm like,
We
yep.
are.
See,
We
now
are.
you
We are.
understand what I'm saying too.
We totally are. I totally agree with
It's
you. And
it's the innovation,
bridge
and that's
the gaps.
something deep into someone that we can go into a following topic over,
for sure.
because
for sure.
that one I would call the grenade tactic.
Yeah, I like that.
You want to hear it? So, okay, so it's not gonna be on video before this.
Well, we could put like little captions or whatever.
So for this telling show, there is a. I was reading a book from an a biography about a Lieutenant David Hackworth, and he did his services both in the Korean War, World War II, and in Vietnam, and has been famously known for pulling off some incredible feats even at a young age. So one of this was at one of the younger ages, about 5 years into his service, he was tasked with building a raider team, which was basically they were going to go through the trenches of the front lines and kind of infiltrate the enemies and kind of breaking strong points.
Yeah.
So that way the main force can move in. But he needed a very specific team of people and types. So here's the cool part. He had to go through an interview process with people. And as he was interviewing them, he had one of his friends make a dummy grenade. So he basically took all the powder, all the bad stuff, but like basically was just having it in hand.
Yeah.
And in the middle of the interview, while they're discussing, talk about things, he would say if he was trying to figure out where this person is and stuff.
Yeah.
He would have his friend accidentally unpin the grenade and see what the person would do. So while everyone's acting in a panic, they're observing what the cadet will do.
Mm.
And he discovered one really interesting factor. Not in sense of discovery, but saying what he shared, which led him to have one of the greatest rating teams during that time of the war.
Mm-hmm.
So he eliminated two kinds of people. He eliminated the one that would freeze. They saw the grenade and panicked. Couldn't have that person because in the heat of battle, if someone's unwilling to move forward, that doesn't sound like someone you need in the front lines in
For
a panic and moment.
For sure.
So they're out. The second people he eliminated was the person that was too gun-ho.
Mm.
So in other words, if they dropped the grenade and the person jumped on the grenade to save everybody, too risky. This person might take some bad risks, and now it's going to create more casualties or
Potentially, yeah.
more trouble.
Yeah.
So also
Yeah.
not in the best mix. So what is this middle group person that they're looking for?
Mm.
They were looking for someone that when the grenade pinned or unpinned, the person would grab it and throw it out, or they would cut a hole from the tent that they were interviewing from to get away from it as fast as possible.
Mm. Oh.
But one of two things they were saying.
Mm-hmm.
He was studying their instinctive, innate response.
So nothing staged or nothing.
Nope.
Just,
Everything.
Just natural response.
What would you do
Yeah.
in that perilous moment?
Okay.
Are your instincts intact to making the right decision? So there were
That's
people that were
powerful.
fire on all three ends, and he eliminated two of them. Because regardless of how much they wanted to be in,
Yeah.
the desire to be in there, there's an instinctive side,
Mm-hmm.
which is saying, even though you want it, what do you instinctively incline yourself to?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're the timid one, you got to learn to bolster up.
True.
And if you're going to be too gun-ho, too risky,
Mm-hmm.
you got to learn when to make the right decisions to do them pull off.
Right. You don't want to make the wrong
Exactly.
one either and just lose it all.
Because that person's always trying to
Yeah.
look like a hero.
Right.
The other two, or the number two, the third one,
Mm-hmm.
went off of good instinct. What is the best reasonable way to both keep my men safe and myself and still be able to move forward in
The
a
right balance.
fearless... Exactly.
Okay.
So in that breath and manner,
It's powerful.
that is why it's so... That in itself is hard. And see, that person, that in itself is hard. But this is the things of why I'm saying, that's what I'm saying builds character. Because if we were just going off of what you desire, who you are, just
Based
building
on
this
that example,
without compromising and builds,
It shows me what you mean on a deeper level.
Yep.
Based on that example. So
which is why I'm saying...
I totally agree with that. You can't just be all black, all white. You gotta know when to.
And all I'm asking is saying,
Swing.
is someone's instincts, by
Okay.
the way I'm communicating,
Yeah.
going to make them realize that you're fit for this?
Mhm.
Or is it going to eliminate them properly? And I would hope, by the way we talk in the details of it,
Mhm.
it will eliminate people. I want people to know you're not fit for this yet.
Mm-mm.
You don't have the will to do this.
Mhm.
No, but like, I'm motivated. I really want this. I really want.
Mhm.
No, you don't. Instinctively, when things get tough, you're going to want to buy this other thing.
Sure.
Instinctively, when things get rough, you're going to stop eating well.
Sure.
I will help in all small manners and ways, but all it's going to come down to is when things fuck up,
Mhm.
I want you to be able to say, I fucked up. Because I can work with that.
Yep.
But I cannot work with, but like,
Yeah.
you
No.
know, it's-
Already
no.
not. Already no.
But I really want it.
Nah.
It's not the no, you don't. It's like, I'm sure you do.
Yeah. But
That's why I'm saying it. I'm sure you do.
Mhm.
I'm sure you really want it.
Mhm.
What's your expectation of what that thing looks like? Oh, you want to enjoy life and kind of be carefree. Why? Because you don't like being in debt, or you don't like not
Mhm.
having money to impress this person, or
Mhm.
you don't want to feel like this. Okay. Why are you complaining to me then?
That's right. That makes a lot of sense.
So that's why I'm saying,
That makes
sure,
a
I'm
lot
sure
of
you
sense.
desire it.
That makes a lot of sense.
But you desire other things more, if not equally as important.
Right.
That's why I'm saying desires are going to be fickle because other things are going to grab that desire.
That's true. It's
You
gonna
want to
swing
look
from
good for
thing
your
to thing.
peers and stuff. That's why I'm saying exactly. Wants and desires, they're all fickle. The desire to want it badly, equally fickle. It's not more detrimental.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I say it's motivational.
That is true. That is true. You can't.
So see,
Okay,
you want
okay.
the $10 million, but then as soon as you see it as 10,000, well, no, it isn't worth it.
That's true.
But that's a $10 million idea. I found something better. You know,
Right, right.
it's gonna make my expenses stuff way. Okay,
Right.
whatever. And
Okay,
it
kind of
just
all ties in now. Yeah,
mhm.
that's true. Okay. Oh, I'm man. It was a journey, but I've learned to see things from that perspective, and it is really, really important because desires, like, based on my understanding, are also dynamic, and there will be one thing one day, and they can be something else the other day.
And it's very rare for it to be steady.
On one thing, yeah.
Yep.
So in that aspect of it, you cannot place it on
Mm-hmm.
this huge pedestal either.
And that's why
So
it's hard
it's-
to admit for all of us to
Right,
know
right.
that, like, wow, even
Mhm.
my wanting of it
Right.
is too fickle.
Yeah,
Ooh,
Nah,
because
it
see, now you got
gets-
to think deeper behind it.
you do.
And for David Hackworth, it was saying he was looking for men
Yep.
that were not going to quit on his brothers, but were also going to be smart enough to know how to save themselves instinctively. And it's one of the main reasons why they were,
Look at
even
that.
though their force was a lot smaller than some others,
Yeah.
they were the best
Mm-hmm.
at infiltrating the enemy lines.
Mhm.
And he could talk about them by names because that's how much he respected each of these men for what they
Wow.
did.
I'm gonna look him up. That's really cool. I love that story and example. That's really cool.
And to put it rightly, it's like when you're hiring people, it's like
Mhm.
you'll realize, wow, I don't need 10, 20 people. I just need these 5 really good people on my doorstep.
They will do
Why
the work
wouldn't
for
I
the 10
splurge?
people,
Why
yeah.
wouldn't I splurge on them?
Yeah.
Hey, you know, some other guy is willing to work for me for only like 50,000, but you're asking for 80,000.
Man.
See, but I mean that's an investment,
Right.
and then he's expecting a raise because of how good he's gonna do.
Right.
That it's like that's not money in your pocket or splurge. Like, see, that's why I'm saying to get to that point that you're
Yeah.
sharing, it's so far down the line
Yeah.
that's why I'm like, it sounds great,
Mhm.
and I agree with you there.
Mhm.
But it's like to get people to get motivated and psyched. Yeah, that's where I want to go. But then they have to go with all these cracks that I'm talking about, and
Mhm.
they're like, oh man, like that doesn't sound worth it.
Mhm.
That's when I'm like, yeah, because that goal requires all of this. So even when you get there, you're not even going to think about that
Sure.
Lamborghini at that point.
Right.
You have to consciously think about where someone's saying, hey, boss,
Mm-hmm.
you're working so fucking hard. Please take a fucking break.
Yeah.
And you have to go, oh, shit. I guess I can. Will you be able to take care if I'm gone?
Mm-hmm.
But see, you build a team so well, and they trust you.
Mm-hmm.
Then, man, the fact that you have to even think about, oh, I guess I could buy this Lamborghini because it's going to look nice. Or someone's like, you know, man, like, you deserve a new car. Like, these kinds of moments where I'm like, the fact that you're going to enjoy
Mhm.
giving and constantly give for the right benefits and assets, your assets are going to be building those people and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
To the point where the conscious part is saying, do I even want to buy a new car yet?
That's true.
Goodness, because that
That's
could be buying this thing for this asset and holding it versus being like, man, I get to keep this employee. I get to show him how much
Yeah.
I care about him for that raise.
Yeah. Man.
And see, for fitness, it's in the same category. Sure, I want to be bigger in this. But more than that, I'm trying to discover what really not just doesn't, or what just not, what works not just for me,
Mm-hmm.
but what's going to actually prolong better results for me in the long term.
Yeah, that is very powerful.
Because looking, I've learned, is becoming more and more fickle. I've only decided to take the bodybuilding thing because I was saying I just want to build a little more muscle, but it's like how it's going to look,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But you know, one thing's for certain, as long as I'm making the right goals and progress, I'm
Mhm.
going to enjoy this the entire way.
Of course.
So whether I look like the man I was trying to imagine being or not,
Yeah.
that discourages people. But when you see numbers, hey, I made a pound more, and percentage-wise, I'm making a little more muscle
Makes you feel
content,
better, yeah.
but I'm not looking like it.
Mhm.
Okay. I was excited about the fact that I'm even seeing progress
Yeah,
in the
of
right
course.
direction.
Just being able to measure and quantify
Exactly.
that is powerful and is a drive in itself. So,
Mhm.
man.
Slam dunk. Now,
Slam dunk.
and thus, we are in the same car, on the
We
same
are
seat.
on the same car, same seat. Love it. We made it.
Damn right.
We made it. I think we're right about to hit the 2 hour mark, and we're not recording on video anymore. So I think this is
This is all bonus stuff then
a
at that
bonus stuff. And man, how do you feel? Do you feel like we hit the nail on? Well, we is that how you said it? Hit the nail on the hammer, or the hammer on the nail?
point. We hit the nail on the
we
head.
hit the hammer on
We hit the nail on the head.
We hit the nail on the head. There you go. Perfect.
I would say yes.
Good.
We hit at least 3 of the 4 topics, and I think we were intentional about trying to gravitate into that. But again, it naturally just ebbs and
we
flowed
just veer
into it.
where it naturally leads. Man, it's so weird because what were we aiming for? Like an hour?
I was trying to aim for an hour.
Is that the typical
And we were doing
podcast
good.
length? An hour?
Yeah, I mean we could cut it even shorter because then it just
It could
teaches
be
us
like
how
2
to
parts.
cut
Yeah.
our answers even shorter.
It could be
I
parts.
use so many analogies and stuff. I think that's what
Yeah.
gets draggy.
Yeah.
So I was trying to be more intentional about cutting it short. So I made my statements and then try to make it shorter than that. And if I
Oh, I
need
don't
to
think we have to-
explain that, I would try
yeah.
to explain a little
We
more.
could do all that in post editing. So by no means I want you to restrict, the natural flow of how you express your ideas.
It's just one of those things I'm trying to practice doing
Yeah.
better at.
I would
Talk
I
about
would.
accountability.
I would. You want to it's a podcast. We don't gotta be short and concise. We can always cut it in half and have 2 podcasts.
Slam dunk.
Podcast. Well, now this would be podcast 0, since the previous one was sub 0, right? So, podcast 0. Man, can't believe we're here again. We've made it happen. We did it.
Hell yeah.
Thank you, anyone who ever watches this, for watching this. And yeah. Awesome, Timo. You got any last things you want to add?
What is your goals for this coming week?
Oh, I like that question. This coming week, obviously, I want to stay committed to, no matter how I feel, just push through, keep working out, keep that going, and I want to work on quantifying my progress
Okay.
at the gym, not just by kind of standing in the mirror and saying, "Oh, my arm looks a little bigger
Yeah.
today." No, I don't think that's gonna be enough.
Nah.
I want to work on maybe logging everything I do at the gym, and with the short little videos I'm making, which I find really
Damn
fun
right.
doing, actually.
Good.
I want to do this thing where every 10 days I'll create a rail out of it and kind of have like an XP bar at the bottom
I
based on
like
how
it.
many more reps I do on a certain day.
Good.
I'll average it out and like kind of level up
Hell
as I go
yeah.
every 10 days. So I feel like that would be kind
See,
of a fun thing.
That is a
Yeah.
good start.
Right. So that's my goal. And I'm sure by next podcast I'll be at or a little over day 10. So
Heck yeah.
can't wait to express or share what that was like. And that's what I'm working on. What about you?
I've been trying to do better at listening and refining my resume. So listening in terms
Listening
of
and
improving
refining?
my
Okay.
interviewing skills,
Sure.
and refining the resume in the regards of, there's a lot of things that I've done or have said, but I'm not good at selling it or talking about it, and I get nervous over certain things, and so too surprising, right? But it's important to acknowledge that
Yeah.
these are areas that I definitely am in need of improving.
Yeah, you
and
can't
that's-
improve if you don't acknowledge the room for
and that's like
improvement.
that's definitely the big leaps and steps.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I like that.
practically speaking, what it all looks like is more making sure that I'm continuing to refine that bigger goal.
How are you quantifying that? How do you know if you've made progress?
I think the best way that I'm seeing its progress is knowing that I have to keep asking myself, is that something I really want to do, or what is the actual thing I'm trying to do? Because at that point, that is the determining factor of how I'm caring about everything else I'm doing.
Okay.
So, for instance, like I knew it was always about financially saving something or doing this, but more importantly,
Yeah.
what it is I just want to find a career, something that I can build success and fulfillment on, and whatever that entails, I'm more than willing to look into it.
Okay.
I just need that dug deeper, because if it's just money, then Apple right now is good and I'll find something eventually. But if that's all it is, then I'm like, I'm not doing a good job finding that long-term goal.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what I'm
It
like
has to be
really
more
trying to
than
dig
that,
on.
yeah. Has
So
to
that's
be
why at least we're finding the two main short-term ones: interviews
more. Okay.
and my resume. So that way, the more I'm doing that, then the more I'll be able to piece together, what do I really want to do?
Okay. I like that. It's important, and it's
That's how I'll
something you can do
quantify it.
today to get you to the right place in the right way at the
Mhm.
right speed tomorrow or in the long term.
Yes.
So that's good. I like that. Awesome. Well, can't wait to hear how that progress goes next time.
Yes, sir.
And likewise, I'll also share how my journey is going.
I'm looking forward to that, my friend.
So, on that note, thanks
Signing off.
everyone. Signing off. Nice having you, Timo.
So I had a thought. What if we call this podcast Ability Accounted For?
Ooh, yes.
So instead of accountability, it's
Thank you
ability
for
accounted
that way I don't forget. I'll just re-listen. Account. Wait, say it again.
Ability accounted
Ability
for.
accounted for. There you go. Feels good to just put that little check next to it. Awesome.
Or literally just accountability. LOL.
Accountability.
All right.
Signing off. Bye bye.
Peace.
Woo. And done. Oh, not yet.